Say what? Ho, this is Brian. Call me the monkey on your back gardener, coming to you from the Devil's Hole, aka the subterranean studios of the new Ramble on Towers in scenic Hesper, Ontario. You are listening to Ramble on Radio, episode 158. Ramble on Radio is the longest running Led Zeppelin podcast on this or any other known internets. You can subscribe to Ramble on Radio through iTunes and Google Play. Don't forget to leave a review. If you're in iTunes, if you're in Google Play, leave a review. 5 stars is best. But it's not for me personally. It's so other people can find. It helps their algorithms find the podcast. When people search for Led Zeppelin and stuff, it comes up more likely if there's more reviews. Right, where the heck was I here? It's also available on Podbean, and I am Brian Dammit. Podbean has their own mobile streaming app. You can listen on Stitcher Radio, Verbal.com, and don't forget to check out and like the videos at Ramble on Radio on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, like the video. That also helps people find it. The more likes on the YouTube video, the more likely it's to pop up when people search for stuff, or it's in their little favorites when you things you might be interested in comes up when you first turn on YouTube. Also, be sure to like and follow Ramble on Radio on Facebook. And also, if you wish to support Ramble on Radio, please consider joining my Patreon page. The intro music, June 26, 1977, the Forum in Inglewood, Los Angeles. Nobody's Fault But Mine, one of 2 songs from Presence. They played in that tour regularly anyway. I can't think of another song that they actually played on that or any other tour, other than For Your Life, which of course got played in the Celebration Day concert. Achilles Not Stand, For Your Life, Royal Orleans. No, and they never did. T for One, Hot Song for Nowhere, Candy Store Rock, Royal Orleans. So it's only 2, even though it was the new album, that tour. There was only the 2 songs that they played from it. All right, on these dates in history, on the 15th of March, 1993, Coverdale Page was released. In 1970, on the 21st of March, they kicked off their latest North American tour. Remember, we talked last time they did 3 North American tours, or 3 or 4 in 1969. So by the time they were back in 1970 for Vancouver, and March 21st, it would have been the 5th tour. In 1974, on the 23rd of March, the band, plus Peter Grant and Richard Cole, attended the premiere for Monty Python and the Holy Grail at Drury Lane. They were investors. The movie would never have happened. There was a story this last week or two, kind of poked up somewhere about was the movie Life of Brian, actually, and the Monty Python guys couldn't get the money together. That the studio had kind of read the script and went, oh, no. So George Harrison ponied up the cash. And a similar thing happened with the Holy Grail. It was kind of independently financed. And a lot of rock stars. George Harrison was also an investor in that one, as well as the guys in Led Zeppelin. The 27th of March, 1969, they appeared on the German TV show Beat Club, played Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, and You Shook Me. In 1973, on the 28th, this is today, that's after midnight on the next day, on the 29th now, but today, the 28th, Houses of the Holy was released. On the 30th, tomorrow, 1968, the Yardbird played the famous Anderson Theater show, which was later kind of rushed out the door after Led Zeppelin's success. The record company rushed it out the door as Live Yardbirds featuring Jimmy Page. And you can find that. It's a bit of a rarity because Page sued. It got pulled. Didn't sell a lot of albums, but it sold enough that you can find it. I do have a copy of it somewhere. And of course, Page had the masters. It was not well recorded. There was much complaints about the quality of it. It was not well recorded. Plus, they put in some weird sound effects, some crowd noises from a bull. Holy crap! Look at me. yawning. From a bullfight. So the band, their Page was not pleased with that, but he remastered it. Kind of really got a lot of good quality out of the tapes, and it is a off his on his webpage. You can get Yardbirds '68, which features that show plus some studio work that the band did around that time that had been previously unreleased, and is all the stuff Page is released on his webpage. You can buy. To me, it's the best. It's it's a great show. It's a really good example of the Yardbirds at that time, of Page's playing at that time, which is in a way a pre-Zeppelin band. They were playing Dazed and Confused. They were playing White Summer. So a lot of things that were happening when the Yardbirds at that moment kind of made its way into Zeppelin. And Zeppelin magnified what they did, but you know, to me it's an excellent example of what can be done, what Page could be doing with his webpage and whatnot, and he doesn't do enough, really. 1976, the 31st of March, 1976, Presence was released, and we're going to be talking about that in a little more detail. And on the 31st in 1969, Led Zeppelin 1 was released in the UK. It had already been out in America, but it was finally getting its UK release. All right, so I missed the last one. No real reason. I promised. I sat down last time, right 1st of March, and said, fundraising month, and we're going to do all this. And then I just got busy. And so what happens, I skipped the Sunday nights. I thought I'll get it Monday or Tuesday, and I just didn't get back. I didn't get to it. So there has been a few uploads this month, and I'll consistently do the other week. I'm still trying to get all the backloaded stuff loaded, punched up. So, but the fundraising thing didn't really go very well. Thank you to those people, however it goes, who did send some money. You can send money to through PayPal at rambleon at briangardner.ca. You could send an e-transfer if you wanted to. However you want to do that sort of thing at rambleon.ca, or you can go to Patreon and buy basically buy a subscription, become a patron, and you get a little extra for that. We went through that the last time. I won't go into detail on that, but go to Patreon and you can see the levels that you can buy and see some samples of what you will get extra above and beyond for your trouble. In this month, interesting in fundraising. By the way, I'm going to extend fundraising month a month because I really didn't do it this month. And there will be something on the webpage in the next day or two to allow you to. Let's put it this way: I'm going to get around to doing what I swore I was going to do 4 weeks ago. I'm going to get there. Since the last time I hit 100,000 downloads on this podcast and got a nice little email from Patreon from Podbean telling me so. Lovely email with a badge, and I'll be putting that up on the webpage too. I should probably put it on the Facebook page too. It's just it's just an icon. But what the heck? It's 100,000 downloads. That's a bit of a big deal. And I know if you're Barstool Sports, it's not a big deal. That's a day. That's Monday, right? But we're not Barstool Sports here. 158 episodes and 100,000 downloads. It's actually not bad, right? That's 600-700 downloads per episode. Okay, so in the news, as things coming up, the must mention section. Robert Plant and Saving Grace will be performing at the Black Deer Festival in Kent, June 25th, 27th. This is a big deal because it's anybody performing music somewhere live. It's not going to happen here in Ontario. I can tell you that in the near future. So if you're in Kent and you get a chance, this really goes off. Wow, congratulations, you got live music. I would be going to this if I was there because because I just so badly want to see some live music. Um, I know the guys in Get the Lead Out have announced a show in the Pennsylvania area, I think, for around the same time, June. So this is anyway, June 25th to 27th is the festival. Robert Plant's specific date time has not been announced, or slot has not been announced, but as with Saving Grace. Saving Grace is a three-piece musical band. Has a female singer named is Susie Dion, and a percussionist, Ole Jefferson, and the group features two string instrumentalists, Tony Kelsey and Matt Worley. Don't worry if you have no idea who any of those people are. You would not be alone. I'm amongst the people who have no idea who the heck these people are. I can tell you they sound. There is a video of them performing a song, and it's more world music sounding. When he says string instrumentalist, they're not. It's not a guitar player, or bass player, or banjo player per se. I'm presuming they play guitars and basses and banjos and violins, but you're getting into some of the other stringed instruments that are less common. So you're getting into that very that Arabic sound that we get from other stuff he's done. When he had the guy, the one string, remember he played the one string violin sort of thing, and it was a very Arabic sounding thing. So it was kind of that tone to it. It'll be interesting, the bootlegs when they come out, how that sounds. And there's a new magazine book. I'm not sure what it is. I've ordered it, but I'm not sure what exactly I've ordered. It's a special edition of Record Collector magazine. It's a Led Zeppelin edition. Articles and stuff written by our friend Dave Lewis, by Andy Adams, who, if you're on the Facebook page, has posted quite a bit of stuff through the years on the Facebook page. Amongst others, they have contributed to this. So it's going to be, if you're a collector of the music, of the records, that sort of thing, it's going to be quite in detail, quite in depth look at what's available. I presume that also means the bootlegs as well as the legitimate releases. Speaking of bootlegs, God, they're dropping all over the place. There's a new one coming out. There's a vinyl release via the Iron Eagle label. This is due out in April in a limited run of 240 copies. It's live at the Forum in Inglewood, California, March 27, 1975. So Los Angeles, third day. The complete concert, 4 LP. It'll be 240 copies total, 4 LPs, the complete concert, 80 copies of black vinyl, 80 copies of silver copies, 80 copies in gold vinyl. It's a stage mix of soundboard and audience. So they've taken a couple of different mixes. They've got a few audience recordings, they've got a soundboard recording, and they're blending them. And then they'll EQ stuff and presumably get something that sounds fairly good. That's what this is, apparently. Other bootlegs that have come up just in the last couple. There was one I missed here, by the way. So there's another one out there. I think this may be that. Third source of August 31st, 1969, Dallas International Motor Speedway in Lewisville, Texas. It's already out there in two sources, but this is I Can't Quit You, Babe, Dazed and Confused, You Shook Me, How Many More Times, a communication breakdown. Haven't had a chance to listen to it. So I don't know what to tell you about it, per se. Other than it's yet another bootleg. It's becoming an embarrassment of riches in the last few months. There really seems to be a lot of stuff dropping. And I guess the guys who spend the time fixing this stuff up and presenting it and getting it together for us, they must be people who actually have jobs. So the last year they've actually got around to getting this stuff done. You know, they're not used to sitting around doing nothing, so they figured out they better do this. I'm going to guess they're, you know, that the the lockdowns and all that stuff of the last year are probably contributing to how much of this stuff is dropping right now. But I could be wrong. It could be completely a coincidental thing. Okay, so let's talk Presence. Led Zeppelin Presence, released on March 31st, 1976. It's amongst my top 10 favorite Led Zeppelin albums. I'm sorry, I'm on a website called Steve Hoffman Forum, and these people do this. What's your top 763 Beatles songs? I've narrowed it down to 47 songs, and you think, try harder, dude. So yeah, we've narrowed this down to my top. It is over the years. This has really grown in my life, my estimation, my ratings. Probably agreed with a lot of people back in the day that it was a weaker effort. That it I don't know. It really felt dreary. And I've always thought it interesting. It came out 1976. At the same time, around the same era, Bruce Springsteen was recording "Darkness at the Edge of Town." It came out in, I believe, '77. But it's probably Springsteen's dreariest, for lack of a better word, dreary. You know, it's heavy. It's depressing. And I'm trying to think. I've often tried to think, is there other stuff of that? And I've not really come up with any others. But it seems like there was something in the air in those couple of years. So Presence it's a heavy album, but it's emotionally heavy as well. It's a heavy rock album, but it's emotionally heavy as well, I think. I guess is the better way to put it. And I got the cover there for everybody to see if you're on YouTube or if you're on Patreon, checking out the uncut, the complete video. There's the inner sleeve thingy, complete with the object. If you're familiar with the cover of Presence, it features pictures with the object. The object is this little obelisk that and they exist out there. They are as a promotional item. They got sent to a bunch of media people and whatnot. The record company actually made these objects and sent them out, and they're numbered and they're they occasionally pop up on eBay and stuff. Quite expensive. Other people make them. Currently, you can 3D printer and away you go, and you can probably buy them for about $25, I think, somewhere. But they wouldn't be legit ones, and you wouldn't want one that looks, you're not trying to pass it off as one. But I always thought it would be a cool thing to have on the desk. In the background, as I do these videos, it'd be nice to have an object back there. Don't you think? I was going to make a comment about, send money, I'll get an object. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to be the guy that does that. Okay, so here's the set list for Presence. Achilles' Last Stand, For Your Life, Royal Orleans, Nobody's Fault But Mine, Candy Store Rock, Hot Song for Nowhere, T41. I've told this story before. I picked up a and I'm pulling out the bonus disc. It's got 10 ribs and a carrot, Pod For Your Life. Another version of Achilles' Last Stand. Achilles' Last Stand, I think, grew out of a jam from Days of Confused in the '75 tour. I think that's true. Anyway, I've told this before. I found a CD at a used place, and I didn't have a CD of Presence. And I decided I grabbed it and I threw it in the car, and it was so. He put it on and just sounded great. Really boom to a lot of boom, loud. It was loud, and dynamic, and what a wow! It was just a wow CD, and it's my favorite. Some guys who audiophiles want us to talk about getting good versions and bad versions, and a lot of us non-audiophiles kind of roll our eyes or whatever. But there are times when it makes a real difference. And that CD was thrown into my car. It's a big difference between that and listening to the album, any of the vinyl versions I have at home. The other CD version I've got, they're all a little less powerful, a little less bite to them. And this one just jumps out of the speakers. It's really something. I'll tell you something else. I have an original, in 1979, brand new, I bought in through the outdoor and on vinyl, because that's how you bought music in those days. You didn't even buy cassettes. Nobody was buying 8-tracks anymore, and cassettes weren't really a thing yet. You could have bought either, but nobody really was. Anyway. And it's a really good mix. It's a really lively mix. So something like Southbound Soiree comes across really, really nice sounding. Really, it's got a bounce to it. It's got an energy to it that other versions of the album doesn't seem to have that. Anyway, that's a sidebar if ever there was one. But so yeah, that's my favorite version of Punch. But I've grown to really love this album. And Achilles' Last Stand is just such a oomph of a song. It's powerful. It's got the cool lyrical run. It's basically the story of Robert Plant. His car accident and hurting himself, and it starts with the band finishing their American tour, heading home. The wives deciding they needed to go on a holiday. Of course, it was during the 75 tour that Robert Plant got famously stood in front of the window at the Hyatt House in L.A. and declared himself to be the Golden God, for which he was, he's been somewhat mocked through the years for that. And, and of course he broke his ankle in that car accident. And if you know the story of Achilles, he was the god, the Greek god, who was ultimately all powerful, super strong. He was, a physical, perfect specimen, and there was supposedly no weakness. And his weakness was discovered to be his ankle. And that's why you have an Achilles heel, or not his ankle, his heel, that heel bone at the back. And that's why it's called an Achilles heel. Supposedly that's what they're able to break to bring down Achilles. So, of course, Achilles' Last Stand is referencing the Golden God breaking his ankle. That's Robert Plant's sense of humor in full play, really. And it's marvelously worded, marvelous lyrics. Especially if if you think it through that way, they just really are cool lyrics. It's a not fun song. It's a heavy song. We've gone through there. The band actually, were recording. Plant was still in a cast, or had just gotten out of the cast when they were recording this. They recorded this album in Munich in I think it was 10 days, maybe it was 2 weeks, but it was fairly, for the time, a really stupid short period of time. They went into the studio and banged off the songs. Now, it's kind of been said through the years that like they went into the studio farther, and learned the songs, and the implication has always been they went into the studio with nothing and recorded the album, and that wasn't true. They've been getting together periodically in the 6 months prior in LA mostly, where Page had been living, doing some rehearsals, working through some songs, bouncing ideas around. So by the time they got to Munich, they were fairly well prepared to record the album. They laid down the bass tracks. They got it all. And bass tracks, I mean, not the bass guitar tracks. The foundational tracks. And then, there was a period. Apparently, they needed to be out of the studio. The Rolling Stones had it for like the next day. They really had a short time window to do this. And Page begged for an extra day, and he recorded all his guitar overdubs apparently in that one day, including something like 14 overdubs onto Achilles' Last Stand. And there is a story listening to the playback of Achilles' Last Stand. Robert Plant got a little excited and almost tripped, or did trip, and they were quite concerned about his ankle. There was talk about whether they would be able to tour in '77. They obviously didn't tour in '76. Well, he healed even then. Um, anyway, so Achilles' Last Stand, For Your Life, Royal Orleans. Um, Royal Orleans, rather famously the song about John Paul Jones apparently went on a date with a woman in New Orleans, from one of the local women who turned out not to be one of the local women, but one of the local transvestites. A queen, a New Orleans queen who sure knows how to schmooze it. Nobody's Fault But Mine, which we heard in the intro, and you'll hear more in the outro. It's really an old blues song, but Robert Plant took the lyrics, and Page wrote a Led Zeppelin song. Robert Plant moved the lyrics over from this old blues song, which is really a slower. If you listen to the Page and Plant Unleaded, when they started, in the '90s, the version of Nobody's Fault But Mine's a lot closer to what it was. With Nina Simone did a really cool. She might have written it actually. Nina Simone might have been the original writer of that. But it's a slower blues sort of thing. But they they sure spiced it up. I'll tell you, much like they did with like Gallows Pole. Candy Store Rock, and Hot Song for Nowhere are two songs I've always liked on this album. Just fun songs. I've talked about it being a heavy album, but then these two songs come in there, and they're not heavy. They're just fun songs. Rockabillys, and I've always, I have a real soft spot for a good pop song, and Led Zeppelin could lay out a good pop song when they needed to. And these are two examples they're kind of more poppy, more lightweight, but still Led Zeppelin, And then T for One, which is one of the interesting ones. It's it's one of Page's great solos, but it never ever gets mentioned as such. It's a song that just it's almost it's one of those slow blues in the minor along the lines of Since I've Been Loving You or I'm Gonna Crawl. And maybe it is just too that heavy, emotional, ponderous almost song sometimes. And it's something about it doesn't make it the sort of thing you throw on and listen to all the time. It's a very hard song to listen to, in a way, I think. But it is a great song. It's an outstanding performance. Again, Page is a great solo, and Plant's singing in fine form. And songs like that, to me, For Your Life is another one that's like that. And songs like that make this a hard album to love, I think, for a lot of people. And it takes kind of getting through those songs, figuring out what they are, that kind of makes this a great album, turns this into a great album. Once you start appreciating what those songs are, what they bring to the table. Anyway, that's a quick discussion on presents. I was actually going to do something else today, and then I realized, oh my god! And I do have a list. I have a list of topics, but because I missed the last one, I'm very backwards at now. I'm out of sync because I had a couple of ideas for stuff that was happened. March has been busy. This kind of was a busy month for it, really. I could have done 4 topical podcasts, but I got 2 subjects coming up that are little different in terms they're not direct Led Zeppelin. They're actually Jimmy Page subjects, post Led Zeppelin. But both of them kind of have events that happened in either late February or early March, the early part of March. So that's why they were gonna be the subjects this month. But then I realized I had this presents to do, and that's more important. So I think we're going to see, this month we'll get through April. It's going to be the two subjects that I had kind of plotted out to roll out more in March. Anyway, let's move on. I don't know why I'm saying all that. Sidebar again. So this is the From the Collection portion of the show. From my collection, I have this very interesting. It's very interesting, I think. I don't even know what's really on it. Robert Plant. You see that? It's coming. Robert Plant. A tour commemorative. I gotta turn this. Probably sounded awful when I banged the microphone, right? I have done a small microphone change. People on video can see the new microphone, and I don't know. I think I've hit it about 3 times and stuff. There you go. You can see the microphone. And I got the windscreen. I'm hoping that takes away the sound I tend to make when I'm talking. When I finish a sentence, start a new one, I tend to make that sound. The microphone picks it up. Not something that happens in real life, but something that seems to happen on the podcast. So the microphone, again, picks it up. So I'm hoping this, with the windscreen and stuff, it's and the microphone that's a little farther away, doesn't pick up the drinking, doesn't pick up the weird sound. Okay, so anyway, this is a cassette from 1990, Robert Plant's Canadian Tour commemorative cassette featuring 2 unreleased songs from the Manic Nirvana recordings. And the songs are... Oompa and One Love. I should actually maybe, I don't know, see if these are out there somewhere. Maybe throw them out there. Put them on. Let you hear this cassette. Maybe, that's the sort of thing I could put on Patreon. No, I couldn't do that because then I'd be charging you to hear something Robert Plant did, so that wouldn't be right. And there's an option on the back to receive your official tour tie-dyed t-shirt. Name, address, postal code, and size preference, large or extra large, on a plain piece of paper, and mail it with $20 cash, certified check, or money order to Canadian Tour Offer, P.O. Box 220, Gormley, Ontario. Prices include postage, handling, PSD, charges were applicable. Offer open to residents of Canada only, expires November 30. I was going to say, I wonder what happens if I do that now. And you can see from YouTube, there's the t-shirt you would get. So there you go. I have no idea where I ever got this. I didn't see Robert Plant in 1990. So there, Robert Plant play. But I probably picked it up at a record store or something at the time. There you go. That's my cassette from 1990. Robert Plant's tour commemorative cassette. Okay. And that is it for Ramble on Radio episode 158. Be sure to check out rambleonradio.com and follow Ramble on Radio on Facebook. You can subscribe to Ramble on Radio through iTunes and Google Play. Don't forget to leave a review. It helps the algorithms find the podcast, which helps other people find the podcast. Listen on Stitcher Radio or Verbal. Download it from I Am Brian Dammit on Podbeam. Check it out on video at Ramble on Radio on YouTube. And go to Patreon. And you can help Ramble on Radio. As well, please share this. Let your friends know about it. I will post a link to it on Facebook. I said that last time and I didn't. I will post a link to it on Facebook when it's up. Please share the links on your Facebook page so your friends can find it. Share it if you have a Led Zeppelin page. If you have a Led Zeppelin fan page on Facebook, please share it on that and let your fans find the podcast. And that's it for Ramble on Radio. Thank you for listening to Ramble on Radio. We're going to outro with the rest of Nobody's Fault But Mine from 1975, June 1975, Los Angeles. Third night in Los Angeles in June 1975.